Hey there, YouTube. We're going to go through a quick market review. Not a whole lot new from the last review I posted. We've got still still an uptrend, and it's definitely kind of a slow, melty one. Had a little bit of a pullback here on this last Wednesday. We kind of hit some key levels here from early July and end of June. Almost retested the prior kind of long-standing all-time high from February before the Trump tariff announcements. So we had a little sell-off here, and seeing some volume picking up here a little bit on this candle right here. Fast trend on the S&P 100 breadth, definitely down quite a fair amount here on the 15th, and we're starting to pick it back up. Slow trend, kind of same thing. Still kind of squeezing a little lower here, but we're still positive. Growth sitting at 68% for the breadth over 200 SMA. Overall average 57%. So a couple different sectors here holding steadily above 50%. And we still have a handful that are not holding so well against the tariffs and probably some other things. One big thing that's coming out is I would say just a lot of drama around J Powell and Trump regarding uh, Jerome's furthered employment for his current role within the Fed Reserve. It's a lot of just random tweets or posts from Trump about firing Jerome Powell. If I recall correctly, Jerome's only got about 7 months or so before I. I'll be honest, I don't truly understand the whole how that whole thing works, but I think there's like a nomination and all that kind of stuff is getting ready to happen here in the next 7 months or so, from what I understand. So could be some volatility still to come as we near that date. So just keep that in mind. I think the market mostly is handling it just fine. We're starting to see some good volume here. This area though still kind of scares me. This single print on 613.90. So that area, we might not ever come back to that, and that would be just fine. But yeah, anytime we start getting a little momentum to the downside, I just kind of like maybe we're gonna come down here. I would probably load some longs around that point, but we might not get that until maybe wintertime. It'd be like a 2%, 2.5% drop. So, anyways, that's kind of where we're at so far here. Value area is still not being drug up, and I think again it's just because we got this big pocket here with nothing effectively. But overall, things are looking pretty decent. And heading into this last week, it's a lot of let's say very kind of challenging moments. If you're using the classic setup here, TWAP ranges, market internals, tick, all that stuff here in TWAP, a lot of chop. Things are really squeezing up on this low VIX movement, a lot of melty movement. And the morning session specifically, I think if you're just using this and you might not have a good understanding of like volume profiles on the futures, you're probably missing some context and sitting around, which is fine. You just might not grab some of this opportunity in the market, but it's very noisy. We're looking at Nasdaq here, or sorry, New York here on Monday. A lot of trend flip on the price and volume. Even top lick is pretty much holding steady bull, not very strong. I'd say medium. And then SPY's buying up the whole time, so definitely counter to New York. And then of course we come into Tuesday where now SPY and New York are singing the same tune. Not very many trend flips, but every one of these sells that we're getting, lots of buybacks, sells, more buybacks, more sells, chop. So definitely probably not as difficult for somebody that's seasoned, has been doing this for a while, but still not a very fun market. All the trades are going to be a lot longer. And so it's important to keep in mind if you're somebody that's used to a fast-paced market and you've adapted to this, eventually it'll flip. So you don't want to get annihilated when the tone of the market adjusts. So Wednesday, I believe this was when there was the comments from Trump about potentially firing J Powell, and that's where we got this heavy tick. And of course, so we bought it all back up. Notice though that even with SPY coming back up, we ended mostly where we had opened, and Top Lick really just not interested. So I think also all of this is a byproduct of the fact that tech earnings are coming up. We had Netflix this past week. Let's see. I think for this next week, econ stuff. Yes, J Powell speech on Tuesday, and let's see. Sometimes we got some medium things in here that have been hitting the market pretty heavy. Sometimes these pesky 10 a.m. new home sales, sometimes these can move the market a little bit. Yeah, I would watch out for those. Definitely the J Powell speech. He's probably going to address Trump's comments, or at least the media will ask him about that. So just watch out for that. Tech earnings. I know we have some this week. I was quite sure we did. Google, Tesla, IBM, T-Mobile. Is it? I don't know if that's ServiceNow, TT. Yeah, so we got a handful, decent size. Wednesday. Oops, sorry, that was Wednesday. Thursday, Friday. Okay, yeah, I do believe it's not this week. I think it's next week. I swear I did this for the last video, so I apologize. They should really post this like the earnings whispers calendar. I would love it if they would adjust this, because this sucks. This interface is terrible. Here we go. Microsoft and Meta, big ones. Robinhood, that stock's been on a tear lately. Apple, Amazon. Yeah, so the market's probably still waiting. Like I mentioned in the last video, AI hype. Is it sustainable? Is it not? Market's probably waiting for that. It's a lot of market value that has been injected since the the low of the February ish dump into April. That low, huge surge. Like Nvidia fully recovered. I think it was like a $4 trillion company now, and a ton of concentration for the top stocks in the indexes. Most of that is built up off of AI hype. That's my belief, but I think you can find that same opinion from much more seasoned and probably much more qualified voices out there. And so market's waiting for that too. The market's not dumb. It's going to be waiting to see whether or not those tech companies can back up their current valuations, and it's probably going to come down to also to the guidance. So Friday we got a gap up here, sold that off. So I think the market mostly is fine to hold where it is, and if anything, maybe more kind of a melty float kind of movement into the earnings in a couple weeks. So zooming out here, so we had kind of an interesting stack up for value areas. I got a lot of notes in here from my Discord, so I do apologize. They're heavily marked up, trying to provide a lot of my thoughts pre-market, before the market opens, and then throughout the market and into the next day. So coming in from Sunday session. Where is Sunday? That's weird. It's not, okay, here it is. Yeah, so Sunday we come in here, and obviously kind of base pre-market in the Asia Euro session, set it up for a nice buy. Mostly topped out prior value areas. So that was a little bit interesting to see, but nice to see we had a strong base here, roughly around where we had it last Tuesday on July 8th. And then we kind of had a pump here from Nvidia news, I believe it was. Something to do with an embargo, I think, or something to do with China. And immediately sold all that off. That was absolutely no surprise to me. Anytime I see these kind of weird overnight announcements and there's some kind of aggressive move like this, it's almost never sustained. So that wasn't a surprise. So overall, nice D distribution here. Little choppy. The thing that kind of got me for this one is, the POC being somewhat established near the lower point of the value area. So we need to see that hold, and of course, we didn't even see a hold in the session. Then the next day we rejected it. So one area I had called out quite a while back, I think, was this concentration of POCs. So anytime I see a ton of POCs all around here, that's probably going to be a good support. and certainly an area that could be grounds for further testing, assuming we have some key failures, which we did here in this session, and we wicked the 50% of that zone I had plotted out at 62.40. So that was a nice strong bounce right back into the POC, rejected again, and then base into the value area from prior session in the next Asia session. Finally, plotting this funky value area, just an immense amount of volume concentrated right around this area, immediately coming in to test that in the next day. So looking at the daily profiles, you look at all this and they're all kind of stacked and squashed together. I would not be surprised to see these stupid levels I'm getting so tired of, 63.08, 62.90, we can call it 63.10, it doesn't really matter, but those particular areas, I still would imagine we'd struggle with them tonight. I'm recording this July 20th, Sunday, so tonight we'll open the new future session. I want to look at the weekly profiles on ES here. I'm going to hide all my drawings for a moment. I just want to back up and look at this a little bit bigger lens here. I'm going to get rid of this alert. Just add it back later. Okay, so not this prior week, but week before, 63.01, 62.65, we'll call it, that area here. So value is at the lower end of the week, but it's about middle. So good support there. No surprise when we come back to that, we find some buyers. Notice this time though, we extended for new all-time highs. So the week range is bigger. It's taller than last time, wider, but the value area is still roughly around the same area. Sure, it's a little bit bigger, but the value shrinks the further away we get from this value area here. Still a huge concentration right within that key range that I had plotted out a while ago now. So that is going to be our key area to defend for ES market to continue higher. Now, of course, we've got J-Powell this week. We've got earnings coming up. Anything can happen at any point. Trump could post something. So all of this is notwithstanding whatever comes out. But that would be the area that I would expect to hold if we're going to remain bullish, slightly neutral, bearish, anything kind of under that until we start retesting lower value areas. I don't have my drawings on here. So if we break this, then I would say we're going to be very bearish. At least it could be quick, down to 61.70, we can call it. So far, that's kind of what I'm seeing, is that the market is not strong bullish. I would say it's cautious bullish just by looking at the value here. We'll head over to NASDAQ. NASDAQ I found to be a little bit more challenging, I guess. It's a little bit more choppy. And of course, we've had divergence where one day NASDAQ's pulling ES, the next day ES is pulling NASDAQ. NASDAQ is ripping to new all-time highs. ES is barely wanting to break over pre-market highs. So lots of weirdness with regards to that always adds an extra bit of challenge. To a point, have been enjoying it, because when the NASDAQ is ripping to all-time new highs and ES hasn't taken off yet, depending on what else I'm seeing with market breadth, I hate to say it, kind of safely enter longs on ES with the expectation that they're going to let loose and follow NASDAQ at some point. So those opportunities have been present, and I do find those to be kind of rare. So those are nice when they show up. But I think the NASDAQ market, at least from how I'm looking at it, seems a little bit more confused. The volume profiles are kind of all over. We got low value on this one, high value on this one, mid value on this one, high on this one, low on it's like, it's just kind of all over the place. Lots of key ranges. To me, makes it a little muddier to trade. But what I am seeing is I'm starting to see we got a one volume-based POC here right around the same value area low. So I think that 23,180, we call it 23,160 area, that area I think will be crucial. Okay, I'm bringing my notes up. Yeah, so I guess I've got that already outlined from this week. And I kind of having some fun with the charts. Notice we were wedging. Kind of expected a breakdown into the end of the day Friday. We didn't really get that. We just flirted with this prior new all-time high at 222. So if we break this, then I think we immediately come down and test 23's low 23K value. If we hold that, then obviously we're in uncharted territory, so I don't have a whole lot of levels. But if I did have some levels, one thing that I would note is just how much of a potential pullback would we have. So 50% of this range is what really sticks out to me, and that's roughly about where we bounced. So that level's 23,151, and 23 is the low of this. So 2387, 23,087 would be the lowest I would expect us to go to maintain some kind of bullishness, and I'm quite sure that aligned to some value here. Okay, that's a value area low, roughly. And copy this. So we get some extension levels here, roughly off of this range. So 23,400 up to 23,530, we'd say. Those could be some potential projections. The one thing is, I really like this low to this high, mainly because this is a very impulsive buy. This is a very strong buyer right here, but I also think so is this one here, and it's pretty close to this one. But I don't get into fib projections too much. So this immense volume here is really the most immediate support area that I would expect us to hold. So 222 down, 222 down to somewhere right below here, 23,200. So that could be a nice local pivot for tonight's market and probably Monday, Tuesday, depending on what all happens. Looking at the VIX, I think we're still very low. We did start to see a little bit of a spike. We got up to 19-ish, and again, though, right back down. So we are elevated. When we had some of that news, a la Trump, the headlines, so we were down 15s. I thought we were even lower than that, but yeah. So we're kind of flirting with some new highs. So we got 18 here, 19 here, and we are kind of holding up a little higher. So not quite 17, but just something to consider. Market might be ready to do something, but I still say, as long as the market wants to melt up on buys, I would just stick with that. So don't get too crazy with anything else. I think that's about. We're going to wrap it up for this one. Hope you found some useful information out of it. Feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to join our free Discord. Free to join, chat it up, share charts. And we do have some premium tools. More than welcome to check those out. We do offer a trial. And as always, thanks for watching and happy trading.